Okay, the next item on the agenda, we have in our presentations and reports, our annual audited financial statement report with Scott Prusser. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for being here tonight.
And more in depth than tonight, so I don't have to take as much time. And I also want to commend your district office by the records that they keep and timing, everything that they do. When we come up here, everything's always ready for us, you know, because we send stuff ahead of time what we need, but they're always ready for us. You were the first one I actually got done this year back in September when we met. And so it's congratulations to your district, because that always helps the board if you're able to get records and information quick and timely, and they do a great job with that. So I just wanted to bring that up to start with. Looking at your financial statements, are presented fairly in all material respects with generally accepted accounting principles. You had an unmodified opinion, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no areas of noncompliance. You also had a unmodified extra classroom report. Was on cash basis. So looking at the financials, and kind of Rob and the audit committee too, when you look at that, and this might be questioned sometimes, is you look at your district wide, and we kind of talk about each year, but if you ever get questioned, you have a negative 48 million. Last year was a negative 47 million. So it's like, but it's based on, you have a number called the OPEB, which is retirees health insurance. And this year actually went down, but it's still $65 million. And there's no offset to that. So, but you're following the prescribed standards, and that's the way they want it shown. So if you ever, get questions about, you look at that and you're like, oh, geez, we're in bad shape. You got to turn a couple pages, you go into the report. And this is what I'm talking about here is the governmental, but you always follow the prescribed standards. Looking how this year went, you had almost $9 million assets at the end of 23, 1.6 of liability and 7.3 of fund balance. Then we look at your asset to liability ratio, and that's gone up the last 3 years. And what we like to look at is that you have reserves, and you also have money put towards tax, and you also keep the 4% unassigned, and you do all those. You're looking at your reserves. You have like every reserve pretty much that's out there. And right now you're working on your capital reserve because you have your upcoming capital projects. So that was why you put more money towards that. But you still have all these other reserves. Probably in the future, you'll probably look more in the retirement contribution ones to get that back where it is, because those rates are going up. And we kind of talked about in the audit, maybe that those are going up. So you'll probably have to look at that going into the future. Now that you've done what you need to do for the capital project. But you have them all there to be used. So that we always like to see that. Like I said, you still have almost $1 million of unassigned fund balance. Looking how you got there, you had over $24 million, $24.1 million of revenues against 23.4 of expenditures. Looking at your revenue sources, you got almost 600,000 over than what was budgeted. Like we like to see, like the district, most of those areas were use of money and property and sale of property. It means your money's not just sitting there, you're investing it, moving it around to make the most, and and you're taking advantage of the interest rates that are out there now, and moving it and making that. And then property that's surplus, you put it out to sale and actually get money for it, not just just disposing of it. You actually get money back for it. So you're making money on the assets that you do have, and that helps out the district, in the long run. Also, when we look at your budget, we like to look at the percentage that you spend each year. And this is what we like to see consistent. We also like to see a range between 94 and 96%. And you're 95%, 94%, 95% the last 3 years. So you're right there every year. Your budget is consistent. And we put that in our summary too, that each year you have some room in it, but you're not over budgeting. And that's what you have to look forward to each year. A couple other highlights. Looking at your school, I don't know, it's a highlight, but looking at your school lunch program, you had an operating loss of almost 65,000. And we discussed this kind of more in length in the audit committee before the transfer, interfund transfer. A lot of it had to do this year is your federal sources. Everything went back to the way it was before. the higher reimbursements and free, for every student. And it actually cut it, your federal source is cut in half. And you actually kept your expenses pretty close to even. But that still, and you're in the same boat with a lot of districts, like you transfer 30,000. We have a lot that transfer more. And that'll probably looking at for your district going forward is that you'll just have to transfer more to make it break even. Like we were talking before, it all depends. If you get CEP, then it would change if you had to transfer that. But pretty much like we do with our districts, and I think I have only 2 that I don't actually transfer money in. So you're in the same boat as a lot of all the other districts that they have to. And there's no solution, like, right, talk about contractual services, stuff like that. You bring that in, then you have to look at quality and that like that. And your program is very good. So you might just, if you don't get the CP, just keep putting more money towards the program. A couple other things. You're still spending your ARP and CRISA grants, almost over 500,000. One actually just ended, and then the other one will be ending next year. So all that federal funding that everybody got will be ending. Same with the state too. So that's why we were talking to our committees. You got to look it forward. You're not sure, how everything will be next year or two, because everybody got the same amount of, got funding. State did too. And you can use yours for the HVAC, which is good. And then we also noted, like during in your capital fund, you added like doing $100,000 projects, which is good because then you can do one each year and get your fund back the next year. And those I think you worked at HVAC too, working on those, and it's good to and just keep doing it. This way you can do something each year, working on whatever part of building stuff like that. And actually, a lot of districts are doing that too, is adding in the $100,000 capital outlay projects. And that's a great idea. And looking, you also have over $500,000 in debt service, and that can be budgeted to be used for future principal and interest payments of debt. And that can, as long as it's used up before your debt comes off. So if not, it would go back to the general fund. So looking going forward, your district's in great shape. Like we said, we like to see that you planning for the future, you have something for now, and then you have other areas of revenue that you've taken advantage of, and we like to see that. Is there any questions, comments?
Questions? Thank you so much, Scott. We appreciate, and I appreciate all the work you do in advance to help it be efficient when you are here. And thanks, Bonnie, to you and everybody in your office for the great work that you do. Sounds like kudos to everybody, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the annual athletic report with Mr. Kyle Manning. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you annually about the state and status of our athletic department. So we'll jump right in here if we can. All right. So first off, I'd like to just start reviewing last year, our 2022-23 accomplishments, and talking about our mission, which is to develop better athletes, better people. So when we talk about developing those better athletes, our highlights from last year, and this is just looking at our varsity sports, we had 5 league titles that we won. We had 3 sectional team champions. 2 of our teams were regional champions in New York State, and we had 2 teams that were state semifinalists. Individually, we had 9 competitors at the state meet. And so we'd like to highlight this in terms of for our coaches and our athletes in our community. We talk about this idea of developing better athletes, and that is, get them fundamentally better at the sport and able to go out there and compete. And our varsity teams are achieving at high levels, and that's a testament to the development from our modified to our JV up to our varsity. And the second part of our mission, developing better people. Just as important, equally important, we were a NISFA School of Excellence, which means that 75% of our varsity teams were honored as scholar athlete teams by NISFA. Our volleyball team continued the tradition of the power of pink and raised over $1,400 last year for the Side Out Foundation. Our boys and girls soccer team continued the tradition, raising money for the Glens Falls Cancer Center in honor of Coach Mike McLaughlin. They raised over $500. And our football team raised over $1,000 that we donate to the Ben Osborne Fund in honor of an alum of that program. And the boys and girls basketball teams raised over $250 towards High Peaks Hospice. Again, these are just a few of the many examples of our coaches and our teams and our student athletes living our mission of developing better athletes and better people. Speaking of our mission, vision, and values, just like to review our mission statement. And we here at Lake George have an education-based athletic program where we seek to develop physical ability, enhance skill level, and promote social growth and maturation. And as I tell the coaches and the student athletes and you when I present, I live that every day. I help develop it, and I still don't have it memorized. But how do we put it into our culture, and how do we live it? We give it a motto, and that motto that you've already heard: developing better athletes, better people. And our coaches and our student athletes in our community, they can understand that, they can see it, and we can really see our mission lived in action. Our vision statement goes on and is even more verbose, but it's our dedication, it's our promise to our student athletes and to our community of what our program is going to be. And it talks about the pillars of our program that I will go on to cover for you here. But again, we put a mission statement with it so we can kind of remember it and live it in that way. And our motto is 37 sports, one team. If you count the number of sports that we offer in the fall, winter, and spring at the modified JV and varsity level, it comes out to almost 37 different offerings or different teams. And we all share this common vision, right? While each team may have some individual goals, we all share this common vision. And then finally, our values, as the district has the CREATE values, we in the athletic department are partnered with the Positive Coaching Alliance, which I'll talk about here momentarily. And our values are to create the PCA development zone. We look for 3 areas. The first is that we have double goal coaches who are seeking to live that mission of developing better athletes and better people. We look for our parents to be second goal parents who focus on that second goal with their student athletes of having the kids learn the life lessons from sports, and let the coaches and the student athletes focus on that first goal. And then we seek for our athletes to be triple impact competitors who make themselves, their teammates, and the game better each and every day. As I touched on with our vision, we have what we call pillars or 4 areas of this mission, vision, and values that kind of anchor us. So the first tenet or pillar is lifetime skills. And simply that's that inherent in sport, we are able to teach those skills that our student athletes are going to take with them well beyond their time on the playing field. And we seek to set goals and targets in these areas. And these are 3-year targets. We're actually in year 3 of these targets for our lifetime skills. And you can see that our lifetime skills targets are based in student buy-in and understanding of the PCA concepts that we have in our partnership with them. So we've been presenting to the PE classes about the PCA concepts. We've had student athlete workshops related to these concepts. We've had our high school varsity club go down and present some awards to our elementary students to kind of build the foundation for this program. We've met with the Blue Zoo, our student fans section, and talked about engaging them in a positive way towards some of our sportsmanship goals. And we've been trying to really work, again, even farther down with our youth commission to continue to kind of build this foundation with our PCA concepts and our lifetime skills pillar. Our second pillar of our athletic vision is access and opportunity. And in this pillar, what we're really talking about is twofold. It's access and opportunity, access to a wide variety of sports. And we were very careful and planned when we developed this. As you'll see in here, it says, as appropriate to our school size. We have 37 sports teams for a Class C, Class D school, which is a vast number of offerings. But we wanted to be clear that we need it to be appropriate to our school size. Additionally, in this area, we're talking about access and opportunity for our students, such as the unified basketball team, and creating that inclusive environment, not just within the school day, but beyond to all of our activities. Our third tenet is quality coaching and instruction. And in this area, what we're talking about is that our coaches are highly trained, they're engaged, and they're passionate. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead here. So our targets in the access and opportunity relate to monitoring our staffing to meet the needs of our student athletes based on our participation trends, and obviously to advocate for facility needs within the master planning as they pertain to athletics. The third tenet that I alluded to, quality coaching and instruction, we're looking for passionate educators. Coaching is education. Coaches are teachers, teachers are coaches. It's the last classroom of the day. And we want them to set our program apart, right? We want them to build the culture of Lake George Athletics. PCA says the culture is the way we do things here. So there's the Lake George way. And our coaches are very important in making sure that we're living our culture each and every day. Finally, our final tenet of our mission, vision, and values is community and parents. We believe, obviously, that they are vital. I'm sorry, I keep skipping ahead with our goals here. I'm a little lagging. But again, in our targets for quality coaching and instruction is the PCA Coach Development Program, where we, again, put the tenets of the PCA program in line through a job description, through our workshops that we do at the PCA, and through different awards and getting the right folks who understand our mission and our vision and share in it. In our final area, community and parents, the final tenet, we see them as active partners with our athletic program. We want them to be engaged with supporting what we do. Often people say athletics is the front porch of the school, and we very much like that idea and want to be that connection, that first connection that folks have. And our targets in this area relate to engaging those partners. As I often talk with our coaches, they come out of youth commission and they've been the coach, they've been on the field, and now as they transition into the modified and high school programs, how do we keep them actively engaged in our programs? And our targets in this area, again, related to our PCA work of the parent program. We send home letters and use the PCA agendas for our parent meetings to set the tone of our culture here, of what we'd like to see. You may have seen the signage around at our fields. We honor the game, and just really trying to make folks aware of what we're doing. And we've been doing a workshop with the 7th grade parents as they enter our program as a welcome, right? Here's what our athletic program is about, and try to set the stage around, again, our culture here. So all of that work goes into developing what the PCA calls a development zone. And you'll see here, my role is to be that single goal leader with the support of the administration to really focus on building our culture of our athletic department. Goal parents, we asked our athletes to be the triple impact competitors and our coaches to be double goal coaches. And all of that combined helps us reach that mission of developing better athletes and better people. One of the other pieces outside of our mission, vision, and values that we're always very cognizant of is our enrollment. As you are having those conversations here, we are always having them in the athletic department. We met several years ago, looked at our numbers, and really developed a game plan. As I said, we want to have offerings as appropriate to our school size. And with declining enrollment, we said, hey, we need a plan. And so our plan is outlined here in those 3 steps. Our ultimate goal is to have a developmental program, so a modified, a JV, and a varsity. But in the event that our enrollment or student interest doesn't allow us to do that, our first step is that we consolidate levels. Our league allows us to play freshmen on a modified team, so we would have modified 7, 8, 9. We would not have a JV team and have a varsity team. Step 2, if we're already in that step 1 where we don't have a JV and the numbers continue to decline, we would then look to potentially investigate a merger. As you know, those are very comprehensive conversations. We look at a lot of factors, and if a merger is viable, we would proceed in that route. If not, we need to look at step 3, and we haven't gotten there yet, but something that we want to put on the table and make people aware that we may need to look at that someday. If a viable merger is not possible, and our enrollment declines to that point, that is a very real possibility. I do want to point out our current mergers this school year. So football, we continue to be merged with Warrensburg and Bolton as the Wolverines. We're in year 2 of that merger, and it's been a very successful merger, having all 3 levels offered to our student athletes. Wrestling, we're going into year 2 of our merger with Warrensburg, and again, providing that great opportunity for our students to continue to wrestle. Alpine skiing, you may recall years ago, we were a merged program. We went all the way back down to being our own program, and now we're back up. So last year we were just with Warrensburg. This year we're expanding to bring Bolton back on, who was one of the original members of our Alpine merger. And finally, the new merger this year with Queensbury School for ice hockey, which will be the first season here starting in November. Continue just to look quickly as we wrap up here with enrollment, athletics, and really participation. And I have a couple quick charts and reports here. These are our participation rates. So this is our fall sports. The bars on the left are raw numbers, so just the pure number of kids participating. And then the bars on the right side are the participation rate. And really what I want to point out to you is, as you can see, our enrollment is declining, and so is the raw number of students participating in athletics. But as you'll notice on the right side, our participation rates have stayed very steady and somewhat increased, right? So the good news, our participation rates are strong and they continue to be strong. I don't know if you want to call it concerning news, as Mr. Luthering always says, numbers are just numbers, but you need to be aware of them. They're going down. You'll see a similar trend here when I go to the winter sports. The number on the left, the raw number of student athletes participating, is going down, but that participation rate staying steady. And then I'll jump to our spring sports, and again, a very similar trend that you'll see here. And this is, I believe we have 8 years of data here that we're tracking. And again, spring sports, a very similar trend where that raw number is going down slightly, but that participation rate staying very steady. And the big piece that makes our program so successful and really defines our culture here is this number, our overall participation rate. So last year, we had a 70%, almost a 71% participation rate. So a kid playing at least one sport here, right? So 70% of our students were involved in our athletic program. And that's, I don't want to say unheard of, but we are definitely at the top end. I know some local schools, would love to have that number. And that's what makes our programs sustainable and brings so much quality to our culture. So with that, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of myself and the coaches for your continued support of our program.
Do you have any questions? Thank you so much, Kyle. Anybody have okay, good.
Kyle, just 2 questions. The participation rate going up, is that because you think there are more options for sports? Did we add anything?
So seeing a
Which is
little
great.
blip of
It-
it
it's-
going up, I think just statistically, it's a little, a little blip. I think it's been very steady. And I think it's just a testament. I don't know that we've added stuff, but I think, we've been innovative with some of our programs. So for instance, our modified volleyball just seeing very large numbers. And we're able to kind of be creative with what we're doing to keep kids involved. We've been maintaining our offerings is really what we've been doing.
Okay.
But even within that, we've seen there's been years we haven't had a JV boys soccer team. So no, I mean we're seeing maybe a decline in some of our offerings, right? Even with mergers, but we're seeing
No, that's
the
great.
participation maintaining.
And then the other question I had is you had said that you have when you bring in the seventh graders, you have the parents and you kind of introduce them into what the sport expectation of parents are in the seventh grade. That's not necessarily necessary in the lower grades. Like there's not really enough participation for parents or an issue.
So technically, our program, right, is 7 through 12. So the start of athletic participation that we oversee is that modified sports, which is the seventh grade. Prior to that, it's youth commission,
Okay.
which we have a relationship with them, but we don't have direct oversight over. So
Okay.
that seventh grade parent kind of welcome night is, hey, welcome to junior, senior high school school sports, right? And welcome to our program, and here's what we're about, and kind of introducing them to the PCA culture in Lake George athletics.
Okay. Thank you.
Couple of things that landed on me. I love the holistic approach, the life skills and the high student engagement being part of the culture, and the K through 12, even though it's a 7 through 12 athletics going down into the elementary school and having engagement down there. I think that's really important. I was happy to hear that. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
I want one of them developing better. I don't know how old that should developing better athletes.
Yeah, that holistic piece is it's awesome. Yeah, thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is our elementary update with Mr. Jim Conway, the elementary principal.
Yeah, congrats to Mr. Manny and those numbers. They really are outstanding, the participation rates, and I think district-wide it's so important for us. So great work. I wanted to just mention a few things that have happened already in the school year and then look to some that are coming up. One, I just wanted to mention our Let's Get Acquainted night on September 14th. Serves as a great opportunity to open up those lines of communication between our families and our staff. Our staff had great presentations and it was very well attended. Also, our fall festival, I want to mention on September 29th. We have a new set of PTSO officers who are doing wonderful work. I want to thank them and thank Mr. Luthringer for hopping in the dunk tank. He was dunked many times. But it's a great tradition in Lake George, and it is the biggest fundraiser for our PTSO, which allows them to fund many programs for our students. I know we have some staff here and they're getting tired of me saying this, but I am going to mention it to the Board of Education. Our New York State test data came out, and while that is one measure, and I will always say it's one measure, it's an important one, our students in grades 3 through 8 did tremendously well. And we have a lot to be proud of in that regard, and it's certainly a credit to the work that our teaching staff and our students have been doing. We were among the top, if not the top school in the BOCES region. So kudos to everybody on that measure. Monday, October 2nd, as we've been keeping you updated with our new math program, Ashley Gershon had a presentation that she made to our families, parents that wanted to attend and learn more about the math program, and she did a wonderful job with that. It was an informative session, and I'm really proud of the work that our teaching staff has been doing with this new math program. Great professional development happened over the summer, as I'll let you know, and it has continued into the fall. I also want to share a little bit. I've kind of leading into that, we had a great staff development day on Friday. And I'm sure Mr. Luthringer and Mr. Kokoza may share some of that. But from my perspective, the morning went very well with the K-12 staff working together, beginning to have some more discussions on K-12 curriculum, but it was a nice opportunity to get together and start some of that work. And then the work when we went back to the elementary school, again, focused on those initiatives that we have underway, math being one of them, and continue to work on phonics in our ELA program, and really looking at data connected to both. But our staff worked real hard on that day, and we're working hard to meet student needs, without a doubt. You know that we work very closely with Franklin Covey with our Leader in Me program. And just to keep you aware of things, I meet with a consultant from Franklin Covey along with a few of our staff members regularly throughout the year. We'll be meeting a couple of dates in October, and then on November 1st, our educational cabinet meets with our consultant throughout the day, really helping us look at our action teams in the building, or at least some of them that have a direct connection to student leadership, student engagement, and helping to steer us and let us look at things with maybe a little different perspective. So I'm excited about that coming up. Last two items. One, October 27th, Dave King and the Lake George Rotary will be in to present to our students. And Dave works closely with Pam McCullen and our high school student interact club. Mr. Kokoza sends over a group of students, and they meet with our third and fifth graders. And it's a thesaurus dictionary program that has gone on for many years. Finally, the Bob Ross Memorial Education Fund will again be funding grants for the elementary school staff. That fund has scholarships to our graduating seniors, but Jim Ross and the Ross family have made a commitment to fund innovative or creative programs that our elementary teaching staff come up with. Last summer, an example was the Beaches and Books program, where a grant was made to donate to that outstanding program and help fund the supplies that were utilized. So we're really excited about that and thankful to Jim and all of Bob's family members in that committee for supporting that great program. Any questions?
Not a question, just a comment. I really appreciate the complimentary comments, remarks toward the teachers and all of the hard work and positive energy. And it's just, thank you for that. And thank you to the teachers, because it just, on behalf of students, it's just so positive and good. So thank you.
Got a great staff.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
We do. Thank you.
Add to that, thank you for your leadership.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Mr. Frank Kokoza, the secondary principal, with his
Hi.
update.
Good evening. I'll be brief because the high school had the athletic presentation tonight. So I have two very quick topics. One, just a reminder that our revamped open house is this Thursday. Starts at 6 o'clock with counseling department presentations to all parents and guardians who are present. And then for an hour, 6:15 to 7:15, parents will be able to visit with teachers informally in two large areas, one being the library, and the other being the 7th grade cluster. So the teachers will be at tables with their department, informally meeting with parents who will receive their child's progress report that evening. We're hoping that this abbreviated night, only 1 hour in length, will encourage families to come out. We've worked with Kyle Manny so that there are no practices or contests Thursday after 5 o'clock, along with our Lake George Youth Commission. They're not holding any practices or contests Thursday evening. So if families are able to make it, we would love to have them. And then to help the cafeteria and Chef Jeff and his staff promote the incredible food that they serve our students, at 7:15, we're going to be providing food to all those present, including staff. So from 6 to 7:15, if you have nothing going on Thursday night, please stop by. Hopefully our attendance increases by the change of format. We're trying to make it parent friendly. You know, they have busy lives. Running through a school at 9 minutes at a clip with 2-minute passing time over the course of 3 hours didn't appear to attract a lot of people here. So we'll see if this new format works. I think it hasn't been looked at in over 30 years, so we'll see. Yes. Second thing is that our shared decision-making body met today. We are formulating our goals for this school year, and you'll be pleased to know that our 2 goals this year are on the topics of student-adult connectedness and student recognition. So I'll be sharing over the next couple of weeks and months more about those 2 goals that our shared decision-making body is looking at. That's all I have.
Thank you. There's a theme that I've been hearing from Kyle and Jim and you, and it's that participation, whether it's participation of our students, parents, engaging students, and the K through 12 piece. So it's really encouraging to hear that theme coming throughout the whole district. So
Thanks,
thanks.
Katie.
The next item on our agenda is the superintendent report with Mr. John Luthringer.
Yes, thank you, Katie. Yeah, I couldn't echo even better than what Mr. Conway said about our staff development day. We had a great day on Friday. It was a wonderful opportunity for us to come together as a K-12 staff. That's definitely been one of the initiatives that we've set out to do, even dating back to last year, is getting our staff together. So we had an excellent session. It was really launching our reimagined curriculum process. The curriculum committee just got a deep dive into that, which we'll hear more about in the report next month. But was a lot of thought was put into it. We had a lot of good feedback from our department leaders and other teachers as well, even before Friday. And now we've got even more feedback. So we launched the new 5-year plan of our different subject areas that are in different phases: research and audit, developing, implementing, and monitor, evaluate, and adjust. So it was a great opportunity. The 4 of us all facilitated different groups. We had a lot of fun doing that, and there was some really, really good dialogue in each of our groups. So just want to again thank our teachers for embracing a new process, a reimagined process, and helping us with that as well. We really want it to be meaningful and purposeful, so that's our intention. We also, so one of the other initiatives that the board has heard me talk a little bit about is really the idea of early childhood and making sure that we're doing everything we can as a district to ensure we're meeting the needs of all of our kids. But we also have a group of students that the state is really emphasizing through funding for schools to really take a close look at. And what I mean by that is a universal pre-K program. So this year, as I kind of mentioned, there really, it can't be stated enough how important early childhood opportunities are for our students. The earlier we can get them into our school, the better, really the better for all of us, the better for families as well, and the better for our faculty and staff. So we've really taken a close look this year. Bonnie, Jim, and myself went to the state put on, it's called Navigating Pre-K. It was a whole day dedicated professional development. So we went down there to learn. That was something that we felt was important. We've been talking about it since I started here, and we went down there and we had a great day. We learned about the funding sources. So in a kind of a brief explanation here, going all the way back to 2018, New York State started a Blue Ribbon Commission dedicated to examining early childhood opportunities for students and programming. Specifically, the commission was charged with developing a framework and plans for schools to implement UPK, and that included funding. Then COVID happened, of course. Things got derailed a little bit, but starting back in 2021, a considerable expansion in funding occurred across New York State. So there's really 5 different funding sources. Some of them are actual federal grants, some of them are state grants, and then some of them are just allocations, which is money that is through the state budget that is provided to school districts. Some districts, depending on their enrollment, depending on their demographics, might be able to access all 5. Lake George, we're only able to access one of them. So we are able to get what's called state UPK funding. It's an allocation. It's not a grant, which is good in my opinion, because grants can go away. So an allocation means that we're able to access funding to build and create a program. So that is one thing that we've spent a lot of time doing. We are actually assigned a liaison by New York State. Her name's Christine Lyons. We met with her on a WebEx a couple weeks ago, and it was great to just bounce ideas off of her. She's an expert in this, helping schools get started, and it was a great opportunity for us to ask a lot of questions and talk about kind of timelines. So that is something that, we're going to be talking about more. We'll be talking about with the Board of Education. We have goals of implementing a program as early as next September. I had a great meeting with Caldwell Preschool today. So I went over and met with the director, Megan Quillen, and we had a great meeting. We talked about this last year as we were at a point where we weren't ready to start a program, but I did explain to her it's something that we were going to investigate and look into. And she was well prepared. We had a great dialogue about how we can potentially coexist. Certainly, they also started a 2-year-old program as well this year. So they're really looking at trying to be sustainable from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old to even potentially a 4-year-old program as well. One of the things that we do have to offer with our program is it has to be full day. For us to be able to access the funding, it has to be a full day program. So again, our programs, Caldwell and a Lake George program, would be vastly different. So I think families are going to have options. Certainly ours would be no cost to our families. And again, we'll be looking at all of those details as we get going here. So we have a planning meeting this week. We're really excited about it. Mr. Conway is fully on board, and it's something that we're going to be talking with our faculty about as well soon. But we're looking to start a program. We have to build a timeline. We have to build a process for what's called an RFP, which we'll talk about that. It's a request for proposal to collaborate with different agencies. There's a whole host of things that we have to do. We're going to be developing that. We'll likely come back to the Board of Education with a much more thorough presentation about our recommendations. And it is something that the board will have to approve at some point down the line here. But again, we're really excited about it. And it's something that is certainly not only going to benefit our students, but also our families as well. So we've got that one going on. I wanted to mention our logo process as well. We had our first meeting with our student advisory committee, and they're very excited about our Laker logo and their ideas. So they were polling the students and getting all sorts of ideas. Some students were using graphic design software to draw things. We had students submit some paper sketches. So the biggest thing that came out of that is they want something. They want an image. They're very much invested in that. We talked about a lot of ideas, how to intertwine the lake, possibly the lake logo, boats, sails. The biggest one, though, that came out of that whole topic was something that started at the elementary school, which is the concept of Georgie, the lake monster. This goes back many, many years, before pre Mr. Conway. But it's so interesting because it's something that resonates with the kids. They have not forgotten about it, but can they make it, bigger, more fierce? That was sort of the idea that they wanted to come up with. Maybe not so much the little lake monster, but so anyways, we took all of their feedback and thoughts and ideas, and we put it in through into a Google Doc. We typed everything up and we sent it off, and we're going to, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting some initial conceptual drawings from a graphic designer. So the kids can take a look at it, take a look at some different examples, and we can start to drafts. So we can start with the drafting process. So we're very much in the start of it, and we're looking forward to having something here in the next few months. Mr. Manny mentioned the fall sports as well. And I just want to mention it's been an excellent fall sports season for really all of our student athletes. It's really been a pleasure for me and the rest of our administrative team to take in events and matches and different sporting events. So I just want to mention a few, and I've tried to get to every single sport, but just recently our volleyball team had a really big match on Friday night against Fort Edward. They were the only team that has beaten us. We had a great match. They played wonderfully. It was very close, and we ended up beating Fort Edward. So it was pretty exciting. Their community was really excited. They had a great turnout. We had a great turnout. It was just wonderful to see. Our boys soccer won a really close, they won 1-0 against Corinth, who is the best team in our league. So kudos to our team. I know they've been fighting hard. They've been losing some really tight matches, but they've been playing really, really hard. And then also just our football program, our merger continues to be very successful. And we're ranked number 3 in the state. And we have our biggest game this Saturday against Stillwater. So we're really looking forward to that as well. And lastly, I just want to take a moment here. So October is New York State School Boards Recognition Month. So next week, actually, NYSBA formally recognizes all school board members for the work that they all do. So it's something I just want to take a moment here and recognize our school board for all of the efforts and the great work that you provide for us in each and every day. So as we commemorate New York State School Board Recognition Week, I have a great sense of gratitude and admiration for the dedication and commitment that each of you has shown to our school district. Your role as school board members is one that carries immense responsibilities, and through your hard work, you've contributed significantly to the advancement of our schools, the well-being of our students, and the overall excellence of our district. With our students as your primary focus, you as school board members create a shared vision for the future of education. You set the direction of the school district to achieve our highest student performance. You provide accountability for student achievement results. You develop a budget and present it to the community. You align district resources to improve achievement, and you support a healthy and inclusive school district culture in which to work and learn, and so much more. So I want to thank you for helping to create a positive governance team. We're all in this together, and I look forward to the continued partnership as we work to provide the best possible education for our students. We did put together a little treat dish for all of you, a little thank you for your efforts. And I have just some certificates here as well. Again, a certificate of appreciation for each of you. So Katie Bruning has been a board member for 6 years. So thank you, Katie, for all of your efforts. So here you go, Katie. Thank you. Marianne McKenzie's been a board member or vice president. She's for 5 years of service. So thank you, Marianne. Janine Bieber has been a board member for 4 years. So thank you, Janine. Rosemarie Earl has been a board member for 4 years as well. So thank you, Rosemarie. Mario Fasulo has been a board member for 2 years. Thank you, Mario. Donna Prime has also been a board member for 2 years. So thank you, Donna. And Trisha Biles has also been a board member for 6 years. So thank you, Trisha, for your service. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you for these yummy gifts. I look forward to diving into this dish later and for the certificate, and appreciate your leadership on the governance team. And I really appreciate the dedication of my fellow board members. So it's great to be on this team. Thank you.
Got a quick question about the universal pre-K.
Yep.
When to access the funds, John, we have to have a full day program. And just to clarify, does that mean that's not 2 half day? Like you couldn't have 2 sections of half day? It's-
Correct.
okay.
It has to be full 6.5 hours a day.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes, please go ahead.
State allocation, the money that was allocated to build the program, that's a one-time deal.
Nope, that is annually, that would be an annual allocation.
Oh, okay.
It's to, the design of, just let me clarify, the design of the funding is to fund the program. So one of my questions was, A, do we see this ever becoming a mandate? And she said, no, mainly because kindergarten is not necessarily a mandate. But I said, well, what do you anticipate with funding? And she said, she doesn't anticipate funding to ever go away. They may in the state budget not increase funding. One of the things we talked about is we are up to a certain number of seats. That's what we have access to for the funding. It's possible there would be additional funding that we could apply for that would increase our level of seats for students. But that has yet to come out. They indicated that may come out later this winter.
And John, actually, number of seats, what are have they talked about minimum number of students to be eligible for allocation?
Yeah, Bonnie might be best to answer that question.
So our funding is based on 20 students. So if we go over 20, you get no more. If you go under 20, you get less. It's a $5,400 per student. You do need to pay close attention to the ratios. So if there are 20 students in the class, then it's 1 teacher and 1 aide and 1 teaching assistant for a total of 3 adults. If you go down to 18 students, then it's just a one-to-one. So we have to really look closely at that, because if you get to 19, you have additional costs, or if you expand and you get to 25, then you're, two really small classes with quite a few more expenses.
Anybody else? Thank you. The next item on our agenda is our Audit and Finance Committee report, and Mario Fasulo will give us that report. He's the chair of that committee.
Thanks, Katie. We reviewed the treasurer's report for July and August. What we received was about a little over $98,000 from August, excess aid and homeless aid. And that's for students whose IEP dictate they go to a private school setting, and we receive those funds back. We reviewed the Clean Hours report for July and August. Was really nothing there to note. We reviewed the budget calendar for 23, 24. The dates, I believe we talked about this a couple of meetings ago, but the dates are really driven by New York State. And then when we get to the point of the budget planning, those pieces will be reviewed by committee. We do recommend that the board approve this calendar when we get to that part of the agenda. Tetra Tech, we are required to bring in an architect firm when we have a capital outlay project, as we do in 23 and 24. And the services that they are providing us are in line with other terms and conditions from other projects that Tetra Tech has been involved in. And then Scott really, he left, but he went over the financial statements for 22, 23. One of the things he talked about is the solid, which he also spoke about here, was a solid relationship between himself and the business office. One thing I want to note, he gave us this summary when we met, and there were 4 bullet points that I want to read. They're quick. These 4 bullet points are like at the end of the summary before he gets to all the numbers. Overall, the district's financial conditions remain strong. Cash positions continue to remain strong. Asset liability ratio is in sound financial condition, which he had also mentioned. And the budget is well planned and structurally balanced, fair and reasonable. I have nothing to do with that other than just sitting on the committee. It's really the business office and all the planning that they do. And I want to commend that. And I think we just not take advantage, but we kind of forget how lucky we are to have people that are planning those multiple years out for the budget. And as Scott talked about, when you have that $100,000 project, you want to do something with it. And we have mentioned a few times when the state gave schools some of that funding during COVID, a lot of schools went out and created positions. And when that funding goes away, well, that position is still there and all the expenses with it. And we didn't do that. The business office and the administrators did the right thing of saying, all right, what CapEx projects can we do to just improve our buildings? And when we spend that money, the funding's gone, but the project is done and we have that, HVAC or whatever it might be. So we need to just recognize the business office. And I think we do that, but just know that luckily for us, the financially, the school is in very good condition. Any questions?
Thank you, Mario. The next item on the agenda is the Board Development Committee report, and I'm the chair of that committee, so I will give that report. We met September 14th, and the first item we worked on was the finalizing the Board Development Committee charge, and that is in the minutes. The next item we worked on was the Board of Education self-eval, and we've been using SuperEval for the last few years and recommend continuing with that tool. It's been very user-friendly and helpful. And we discussed it and recommend to the board that we do that in January so that we have that timeframe would allow us to identify areas for growth and leave time within the school year to plan for and implement strategies for board development. We also talked about the superintendent evaluation, continue to use the SuperEval tool for that. And there's a very detailed timeline in the minutes that are logistically sound and meet the contractual obligations. The next item we talked about was advocacy, and this is surrounding one of the board's goals. It's goal number 1. The Lake George Board will identify opportunities for advocacy of the district's interest and increase participation in these opportunities. And we talked about some different vehicles to use to do that. One of them was New York State School Board Association. We have a membership with them, which gives us access to learning opportunities. One of those we're going to be participating in a couple weeks. A few of us are going to be going to the conference, and that's one of the places we have learning opportunities. And we also have the ability to consult with their experts. The Adirondack Area School Board Association membership provides opportunities for us to learn about local and state education topics. We are affiliated with BOCES, superintendent's a resource, participating in the NYSBA resolution process. Thank you, Mariana Rosemary, for helping us with that. The annual legislative breakfast is an example of an event that we can be part of, having conversations with our local representatives about, to let them know district priorities, and advocacy letters from the superintendent and the board. A couple of topics that we brainstormed for advocacy. One of them was universal pre-K, which John talked about a little bit about tonight. Another item that we brainstormed was greater financial support for and celebration of vocational education. And the committee recommends that when we have topics that are related to the advocacy work, that we use our board member comment time to keep people up to date on what's going on for that. The next item we talked about was the board committees, and that is aligned with goal number 3 for the board's goals this year. The Lake George BOE will further review roles and responsibilities of board committees to ensure that all board members understand how committees are aligned to the responsibilities of the board. Board members will participate in and chair board committees using a standardized set of systems and procedures in accordance with a district shared decision-making plan, and responsibilities for district operations are delegated to the superintendent. So the purpose of each committee is to provide a greater amount of time and focus on topics that rise to a committee level in order to initially vet ideas and issues before making recommendations to the whole board. And I mean, we see that every month at these meetings with the committee reports, that we are doing that. But we recognize that each committee is unique and have common components with structures and operations that are specific to that committee, but we want to make sure that we're having standardized ways of operating. And so we have asked the chair people of each committee to draft a charter, and those drafts are going to come to the Board Development Committee, and we're going to use those to better understand how we're operating and codify our practices. And then due to time constraints, there was a couple items on the agenda we didn't get to, and that was the board development budget and then identifying topics and opportunities for board development. And I think even after our NYSBA conference, we may have some ideas from that to bring back as well. And our next meeting date hasn't been set yet. Anybody have any questions? And Trish, chime in on anything throughout the meeting. We haven't forgotten you.
Thanks. No, we're good.
Okay. Okay. And I'll make note of that if there's a delay, to make sure that I'm pausing so that after anybody is speaking, we give Trish a chance to hear it. It's like going across the world, right? That 7-second delay. Okay. The next, is everybody else set? Next item on the agenda is the Policy Committee report with Mary Ann McKenzie, who's the chair of that committee.
Okay, this evening there are 9 policies moving forward to second read, and we touched on each of those last month. One policy that was on that list that we pulled back is, I forget the number, but it was controversial issues. We had a conversation at a mention at the board table last month about the possibility of defining controversial issues. And anyway, further reflection, we're still working on it. And So that one is pulled off and it's not on the agenda tonight. But there are 3 policies that we are putting up for first read tonight. Each of them came under review of the policy committee by way of our Lake George manual review. And the first one is 7243, audio, video, or other electronic recordings of meetings between parents and educators. And the part that says between parents and educators is a suggested revision so that it's clear which meetings this policy is referring to. And in addition to that, the other recommended revisions are really just to make the language more contemporary in terms of recordings. And yeah, that's it. That was it, just making it more contemporary and in alignment throughout the policy. The second policy is 7422, guidelines for parent-financed interscholastic sports teams. And the suggested revisions were kind of extensive throughout, but they weren't really substantive. It was really just meant to increase the clarity of the process that is involved with this topic when a parent wants to finance, a parent group wants to finance a sports team. The next one is 7250, student privacy, parental access to information, and administration of certain physical examinations to minors. So this is a policy that had started to move towards second read a couple of months ago. We pulled it back because the language was still felt to be not very user-friendly, understandable. So we pulled that back, and our administrators did some research and actually we have a whole new draft that was derived, I think, from other school districts, what they use in combination with what we've had. And we think that it's more understandable. It's the same content, but it is easier to read and understand. So I hope you agree. And yeah, we have several policies in our queue for discussion at our November policy meeting. But other than that, I think that's my full report. Does anyone have questions?
Thank you, Miriam.
Okay.
I always appreciate that one of the things that we work on policy committee, and you're so good at this, Marianne, is making language user-friendly. Because when you read a policy, you should be able to understand what it's saying. So thank you. The next item on our agenda is public comment. And this first period is for items pertaining to the agenda. And we don't have anyone who signed up to for public comment. But that's okay. If you have a public comment, you're still welcome to come up. Okay. Just in this time frame, when I look out here, I see again this month, we have teachers who are here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be engaged and be here again this month. It's nice to see your smiling faces out there in these Tuesday evenings once a month. So thank you for being here. So we'll move on to the school business part of the meeting. It's the school business consent agendas. Next item.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the school business consent agenda items A through L. In summary, item A is a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes from September. Item B is a recommendation on the Committee on Special Education. Item C is the Treasurer and Extracurricular Funds and Warrants Report. Item D is the Claims Auditor Report. Item E is the Annual Audited Financial Statement and Extracurricular Activities Fund Statement as presented tonight. Item F is the 2024-25 budget calendar leading to the 2024 annual meeting. Item G is the customary practices for our 2 readings of policy as described. Item H and item I pertain to the high school and elementary response to intervention and AIS services plans. Item J is a motion to approve the field trip for the junior senior high high music department's request to participate in the Music in the Parks Festival Band and Chorus Competition in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Item K is a motion to accept the proposal for architectural services from Tetra Tech Architects and Engineer for the capital outlay project as described. And item L is a motion to approve the 23-24 professional learning plan.
Do we have a motion?
Second?
Do we have any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We wait for a 7-second delay, right? Any opposed? And I saw Trish is not opposed, so any abstaining? Motion carries. This is going to be fun. Next item is the faculty staff consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff resignation consent agenda item A, which is a motion to approve the termination of Cheryl Fischetti for the reason of abandonment of her position of food service helper.
Do
Second?
you have any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item is the faculty staff consent agenda. Yeah, I called the first thing the wrong thing. Thank you for keeping us on track there, John.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff consent agenda items A through G. Item A is a motion to appoint Michaela White to the permanent position of payroll clerk in the competitive class of civil service. Item B is a motion to appoint Leslie Marcotte to the probationary position of groundskeeper custodian in the non-competitive class of the civil service. Item C is a motion to appoint Brandon Raymond to the permanent position of mechanic bus driver in the non-competitive class of civil service. Item D is a motion to approve the establishment of the position of Lighthouse Club Advisor to the extracurricular and co-curricular list as outlined in the memorandum of understanding between Lake George Central School District and the Lake George Education Association. Item E is a motion to amend the 2023-24 curriculum list and the 2023-24 extracurricular and co-curricular list. Item F is a motion to amend the 2023-24 substitute list of employees not hired through BOCES, and item G is a motion to amend the 23-24 volunteer coaches list.
Do we have a motion? Second, do we have a second? Okay, thank you. Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we got Trish there. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Board of Education comments and discussion. Do we have any topics, anything this evening? See if Trish has anything. Do you have something?
Well, I
Maria?
was just going to bring up again, just the resolution, the NISBA resolution packet that I sent out to individuals. I'll be attending the orientation session for that meeting tomorrow, and then the meeting is on Monday. And there are a lot of resolutions. I know it was a lot to read through, but I wanted to just give people the opportunity if there was anything on their mind that they wanted to discuss from that list. And I would just point out that, I think of the resolutions, there are 14 of them that are sunsetting resolutions. And I think that that is going to be a consent agenda. The first 14, there are several that are new resolution proposals, and there's 26 of them that are proposals that are either sunsetting or new resolutions that are that NISBA is not endorsing. So there's all these different categories. to make for a long business meeting, I guess, but, something that I noticed is time they have the NISBA DEI committee commented at the end. I don't know if anyone noticed that they commented their support or no position, whatever their comment was added to that. And I thought that was interesting and an added layer for the process. But was there anything anybody?
How does the sunsetting work?
So I think it's just that their current position statements that have already, they're already being advocated by NISBA at the state level, and they're expiring. And so some of those that are expiring are on the list again to potentially remain on their position statements, and then some they're not recommending that they continue. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, I look forward to hearing about it. I don't have any specific questions, but I appreciate the deep dive you've taken into it. It is a lot of reading, and I appreciate your work
No,
on that.
it's interesting, because you really get, it's like a bit of a snapshot of
Yeah.
what's on people's minds,
Mhm.
and, in like a full spectrum of perspectives. And it's really interesting.
Yeah, I found it really educational, the topics, and yeah.
Yeah, especially it's interesting that they have resolutions about trying to deal with, teacher shortage.
Mhm. Well, and that was an interesting point too. Some of the resolutions I found them interesting, but they didn't necessarily relate to some of the challenges that, those challenges aren't necessarily challenges that we have
Right.
here. So it was interesting to have a broader perspective of what districts across the state are finding to be important. So, and Trish gave me the signal that she did not have any topics this evening. So anybody else? Okay. The final item, well, the second to last item is our second public comment session. And do we have anybody who interested in public comment? Okay. Then the final item is our adjournment. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of Lake George Central School District hereby adjourns the October 10th, 2023 meeting. Have a motion? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Trish gives a thumbs up. We're all done. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. Much appreciated.
Yeah.